tournament. Impunity on the blue side, Tribe on the red. And now this is a point at which Impunity sometimes struggle. Their draft phase is not always the best. They're going to get rid of the Saw to start us off.
Yeah, Saw ban is not something we normally see right off the bat. However, it is something that Tribe in the past has played. They really like the Lyra Saw combination, that arcane passage to get the spun-up Saw right into the fight and mow the enemies down. Definitely something Dienzio hasn't played a ton of as far as on the live stage or in any tournaments, but something they've definitely started to work into their comfortable draft scenarios.
A lot of players here who have been on the world stage before. Two members of Impunity, Cote d'Ivoire, and I believe Blue Ziddy. It could have been Deathview. I'm trying to remember which one was there last year. And then Tribe, of course, you've got Dienzio, you've got Tigers, and you've got all these guys who've been around the block quite a while. So a lot of experience in this series. Blackfeather is a ban from Tribe. The Lyra pickup is something we're seeing a lot across the course of the tournament. And then the Churnwalker for Tribe.
Yeah, and Churnwalker is something that we've actually seen almost banned every game here so far in Worlds, both on the alternative stream and on the mainstream as well. He is definitely a huge playmaker, but Lyra can be as well. They're very good at setting up plays in your own favor. But Tribe, they're going to go ahead and take away the Baron here, and that's something that it has been a while since we've seen like a hugely successful Baron, but it's definitely still possible.
It's something we see quite a bit in EU at times. Weapon Power Baron's still something that is around, so not too surprised to see it banned, but against Impunity, Cote d'Ivoire is known for having a little bit of a wacky pick, playing around with XP, trying to work his way around the jungle, so I'm interested to see how they do decide to pick here. The Pedal is banned Gwen and Krull straight away for Impunity.
Which, to me, with the way the draft has been set up so far, this to me screams Crystal Power Gwen, right? And that is something that Impunity is very good at. They use more of their positioning to their defense, so we'll likely see this Crystal Power Gwen in the lane go very, very heavy in the offense very quickly. The only positioning to their advantage to be their defense. So we're getting ready to get into this one, though.
On to the Halcyon Fold. Impunity playing up against Tribe. Tribe, of course, coming through the wild card spot, but a lot of people see them almost like the second seed from NA. TSM haven't impressed as much as they could have done recently. So I think Tribe are vying with TSM for that second seed position.
Well, when this Tribe team actually formed, they were kind of coined by the community as the TSM killer. They were a team of all-stars that kind of just happened to get put together, and then Max Green as well. He was, really kind of a slower-paced captain when he first started playing in the Vainglory competitive scene for Hammers back in the day, but has really evolved his skills, and that's what we need to look for. Is Max Green has really become a huge playmaker to go along with the big names of Dienzio and T-Tigers, and I put him right up there at the top, close to Gage Bizzle as far as his mechanics goes.
Yeah, had that like 2 to 3 week period where he went from kind of an average captain into this godly captain who makes incredible plays. And is incredibly good on the Churnwalker as well. Tribe did get the Elder Treant there, so they have that slight gold lead. We saw a little bit more of a fight for it than we have in some of the previous games. I like that from Impunity, being a little bit more aggressive in the face of this Tribe lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. But when we do mention this name Tribe, this is a team that, we revere as possibly having the biggest live buff. It's, Dienzio throughout the main season can play maybe a little bit underwhelming, maybe not be the scariest laner. When you get him and T-Tigers onto the stage, it's like they're going Super Saiyan, right? They make just insane plays, and I'm super excited. As you mentioned, Impunity was able to run this Crystal Gwen last year. It has received some buffs since then as well. Can they take down Tribe? Can they show the world that this live buff is something they can deal with?
You look all the way back to the Hammers days with Dienzio when he was that live buff. We did see another Treant going down towards Tribe, getting it on spawn, then stealing away the front. We wanted to see this aggression from Tigers on the Koshka, and that's exactly what he's doing. Deathview looking to try and catch on the Max Green and Tigers, getting those weakness stacks building up. Cote d'Ivoire's on his way down as well. It's actually Greasy here playing for Impunity as well. Gets damage down with the right bulwark. T-Tigers able to help Tribe get first. Cote d'Ivoire pulls back. Tribe can keep chasing in here, but Dienzio doing a lot of work here for Tribe.
Yeah, that was a really interesting play coming out of Tribe there in the jungle. T-Tigers actually picked himself up a scout trap, was able to place it, it got some additional damage down onto Deathview, and they were able to turn it around for first blood, much earlier than we saw in our first games that we cast.
Yeah, 7 minutes.
Yeah, 7 minutes is you know, where we were looking for Cloud9 earlier. Tribe stepping things up. This Gwen already starting. He builds into the Aftershock first, makes a lot of sense. You want that additional cooldown and that burst for Koshka, and then usually goes into some very heavy crystal power after that. It really uses Koshka's ratios to her advantage, keeps the aggression up, and can make it very difficult for this Krull to get late enough into the game to have a significant impact.
And there's a great number that you can just look on your screen. T-Tigers has 28 farm to 12 in depth. That aggression, stealing away those jungle camps, stealing away those healer treants when they can, the fronts, getting the elder treants for themselves as well, just allows Tribe to accelerate to 1,500 gold lead already. They're just standing in the Impunity jungle, having no fear at all, and taking whatever they want.
Yeah, and a lot of that is due to Koshka's just speed. She has a pretty fast jungle clear, specifically when you compare it up against a Krull, who has a very slow jungle clear, and then Koshka's ability to actually physically move through the jungle. She is just so fast. Once you learn those abilities, you get that speed buff, and it makes it very easy for T-Tigers to kind of play with this food a little bit. But you know, as we get later into this game, I am interested to see where QC goes with this Gwen build. There's definitely a couple options. You know, Shatterglass first is typically what we see. Clockwork in there for that energy regeneration, which has had some substantial buffs as well. You know, that Clockwork.
This is not good for Deathview. He's like 2 levels behind the Tribe and looking for the Crystal Center here as well. Deathview cannot really do anything. Has got to level 5, but still no from Hell's Heart for him. T-Tigers does have the yummy Captive Frenzy if he wants to jump in. Tribe continue to extend their gold lead, not really caring too much about pressuring the lane, instead just taking away camp after camp.
Yeah, it did look like Impunity was able to secure that treant though that Tribe was on, so good plays coming out of them. They aren't going to be able to stop T-Tigers taking the remainder of their jungle, but you know, getting anything is better than getting anything. Now they've got to be careful.
Max Green wasn't there, had just gone back to base, so deciding not to go for the full engage there. But I feel if they had just used Yummy Captive Frenzy onto Courtevoir, we're in a very dead Lyra. Fountain already completed onto Max Green. It looks like Courtevoir might be going up towards the Crucible first here instead of going for that early Fountain.
Yeah, it definitely appears so, and that does help out those Imperial Sigils. But I like this build path a little bit more when you're more ahead in the early game as opposed to playing from behind. T-Tigers, a little bit of aggression there. Not quite enough to take down Courtevoir, but you know, definitely making sure that he is a presence at all times, making sure that he's a threat. And we see now he's level 7. He's approaching the overdrive for his B, whereas Deathview not even at his ultimate yet, not even at that level 6 spike where Krull gets that stun.
Still only on 17 farm as well to the 50 from T-Tigers. What a monumental advantage for Tribe. They've played this jungle incredibly well, but start having to get these objectives. You can't just continually farm the enemy jungle, you have to get something off it, and they're looking for the first turret. Should be theirs. They get it 6 minutes 20 into the game. Trying with the early aggression, and it's paying off.
Yeah, and that was such a smart play from Tribe there. If you notice in that fight, T-Tigers was right on top of QC, but he wasn't attacking Gwen. He knew that they're far enough ahead that they didn't have the damage to actually threaten him, because you know, Crystal Powered Gwen, despite being a little bit more buff, it's about 20% quicker that she comes online, doesn't yet have the damage to actually take him down, so they focused on that turret. They were able to take it down. The gold value of that turret is now down to 200 for the first turret per player instead of the 300, so it's not as big of a gold burst, but it's definitely, against a Crystal Powered Gwen specifically, because last hitting in the early and mid game can be difficult, that is a huge advantage for Tribe now. That 600 gold is massive.
Right, Bulwark will lock up T-Tigers. It is a weakness to the Lyra of the Koshka. You can get locked up pretty easily with that Bright Bulwark. We see Tigers has gone for an infusion here as well. Playing this mid-game incredibly aggressively, has the Aftershock, got reflex block for a little bit of defense. It looks like Max Green's going towards the Crucible of his own. Poison shifting this on DNZio as well. So first tier 3 item across the board. Deathview has gone tension bow first on the Krull here as well. Different to what we saw in the Hunters Crack, not Hunters, Detonation Cracker game earlier, where it was more of a breaking point Krull build.
Yeah, it is a little bit more of upfront damage, but it does not give you that heavy, sustainable damage that Kroll is going to want as the game goes later.
Holy!
Oh my goodness!
Holy! Tigers just shreds Tigers is going to have to run away. The ace is high, and the From Hell's Heart miss. From Hell's Heart will connect over Max Green, but Dienzio and T-Tigers are very willing to continue to step forward into this fight. There's still a turret there, and the Crystal Sentries come up to help as well, so Tribe will just remove that from the Halcyon for the time being. That's the second Crystal Sentry down. One life remains in Impunity. Running out of time in this game.
Yeah, T-Tigers, what a great escape there. Dodges the aces high, dodges the From Hell's Heart. Then Max Green, again, we talked about just the plays that he makes, turns around, intercepts that sword coming back towards Dienzio. They're able to force the side of Impunity back. They don't take anything huge off of it, but they are doing something. They are instilling fear into Impunity with the aggression they've been able to upkeep. And that can be really devastating on the mental game of the players. They have to keep positive, and Impunity definitely not out of this. That Crystal Power Gwen in the late game can be absolutely insane, and against a Kashka who starts to fall off toward the later portion of the mid game, that can be where we really start to see that swing. Kroll and Gwen, much later game focused than the Kashka. It's going to rely a lot on Dienzio and Max Green in the late game.
Waiting on those 3 completed items for Queasy and Death Q. Sitting on 2 with the Clockwork in the Shadow Glass on Queasy. Has an infusion as well. Goldminer will go over to Tribe once again. That's a 4,000 gold lead for them. Edging towards half a decade. I forgot what 10 is. Like half, yeah, a decade, I guess. Edging towards 5. Edging towards 5. We'll go with the simplicity here. But Tribe still in a very good spot, you have to say. Next steps, look, this turret in the lane continues to take away those Crystal Sentries, continues to take away the gold mines, and continue to shut Impunity out of their own jungle. Basically double farm on T-Tigers over Death Q. Queasy's done a pretty good job in the lane, but he's still behind Dienzio, and this Crystal Sentry is about to be eliminated from the Halcyon Vault.
Yeah, and T-Tigers has already gone all the way into an Aegis, trying to make sure that he can survive long enough against this Crystal Power Gwen that they can close out the game before she's really able to come online. And I like this coming out of T-Tigers. Again, goes towards a very strong Crystal Power second Tier 3 item, which in this case is going to be the Broken Mist, to try to get through some of the shielding that Death Q and Portavoy have built. But this Gwen, you know, now that the Clockwork's online, this is where she can start to be a threat. This is where things can start to get a little bit more risky for Tribe, because if you're not able to jump right onto Gwen and take her out of the fight early, the range advantage that her poke has over Dienzio can definitely change things up. I do like that Dienzio has gone for the breaking point second. You're up against a Kroll, you're up against a Lyra. You know inherently these fights are going to be a little bit more drawn out than usual. So it gives them that time to build things up, and they can turn their attention directly to Queasy, who's chased down by T-Tigers.
Imperial Stitcher does come out from the corner fire. It jumps back in onto Queasy's damage, coming out there straight, but only gets the silence onto 1, yeah, becomes 20. Get the stun off with the Death. T-Tigers doing a lot of work. Trying to stun off Max Green as he's tanking up the turret for the time being. T-Tigers trying to get him from the side. Max Green still underneath the turret. The From Hell's Heart straight onto the face of T-Tigers. And that cat dived a little bit too deep. Wasn't able to catch its prey. And Tribe lose their first kill of the game. Yeah,
it's 1-1 now, but we still have a turret up for Tribe. We still have about a 6,000 gold lead for Tribe at this point. But Impunity, again, they are getting to the point in this game where their builds are starting to come online, and Kashka is going to start to have more and more difficult of a time. That last fight broke out incredibly quickly, but we did have a blocked trespass that appeared. However, that did take that block away. It allowed the Yummy Cat and Frenzy to come through. I don't think Def Q was expecting it to come right towards the end there. He did have the block for himself, wasn't able to pop it in time. And, you know, again, fortunately, T-Tigers a little too far, was likely looking for that kill onto Gwen. Whether he lived or died, if he got that kill onto Gwen, there was no way that QC was going to be able to defend that turret from the remaining forces of Tribe that are Max Green and Dienzio.
Exactly, QC is so squishy as well. He's less than 2,000 HP at the moment. Compare that to like T-Tigers, who's at 2,600, or even Dienzio, who's at 2,200.
With a Tier 3 defensive item.
Exactly, with a monumental advantage in terms of tankiness. But as we say, that Gwen will come online. Another gold miner is going to go over to Tribe here. Their vision control has been superfluous. Almost too much vision, really, from them. Scout traps all over the Impunity jungle, but Impunity are being able to step just ever so slightly further forward, starting to get a bit more defense on Death. Still only sitting at 30 CS, but Crawl as we get later in the game will start to come online a little bit more. Only level 9 though, still lacking behind T-Tigers, who's 11, 12 at the from Hell's Heart. Block. Good stuff by Max. Keep himself safe. Oh, T-Tigers is going to jump across the wall. Impunity can chase this one down a little bit. Need to be cautious though, because T-Tigers does still have the ability to bounce back in with that yummy Catnip Frenzy. Tribe deciding they do not want to fight for the time being and allowing Impunity to push up the lane.
QC was almost able to stop those recalls, was very close. And now that he has this Broken Myth online, that third item Spike is where this Gwen really starts to get incredibly strong. And T-Tiger's already at half health, has to be careful.
For the Trespass, blocked out, stunned by connect. The damage is going to come down from Yenzo, who's up to 7 stacks. Here comes the jump in from T-Tigers as well. Grease is going to heal up with that Imperial Sigil, waiting for the cooldowns. Buckshot Bonanza back off, pops it into the bush. There's a Crucible from Max Green and a Fountain Portable are left available. So both teams have one of those big captain items left, but Tribe are ahead in terms of just pure gold by about 8,000 at the moment. So Impunity has to find the perfect engage. T-Tigers jumps in, Death gets that. 34th farm of the game. Still Impunity so tentative around these fights. They know that Tribe are big advantage. Good base stun there. Tienzu's going to want to get the stun after right ball comes out as well. Ace is high on towards T-Tigers. Is still able to keep himself alive in the backline. Tienzu doing a lot of damage in this fight. Up to 8 stacks. Yummy Captain Frenzy. It's going to get the stun across towards Deku as well. That Crawler's dead. And Tribe now can chase in onto Creasy and Cordovar, who are not very near to the fray.
No, definitely not. Now, that fight was looking very good in the side of Impunity, but Kroll got a little too far out. A great stun coming out of T-Tigers, a good follow-up coming out of Max Green. It allowed Dienzio that time to finish building up those stacks at breaking point. He was able to bring down that Kroll, and without Kroll, there's just no way that Gwen, with the health remaining on the side of Tribe, would have been able to take them down, especially now with the Fountain coming off the cooldown right at that moment as well. Max Green has saved that, so he'll be ready to go for the next fight. And Tribe, you know, again, they are very far ahead, but this is the point in the game that the side of Impunity can really turn things around. Kroll has completed that Shiver Steal, and if he's able to lock down Dienzio and prevent him from getting away from this Gwen, then things can really start to swing heavily. The damage and the AoE that comes out of Gwen can be absolutely insane.
T-Tigers just isn't having Death Q any of his jungle though, and it makes it harder for the Kroll, of course, to get to those completed items. If you're not getting any farm, you really don't get as much gold to start stacking up those items. However, as we say, Creasy is in a good position on this Gwen in terms of completed build. Started up here, Cordovan needs to step in that Citrus, get some healing back, pops the healing fast instead. Death Q looking to speed into this with that Krull heroic perk, but Impunity, I think, they have no vision on it at all. No flares as well for Cordovan. Puts this Sigil down. Now they know the Kraken's being taken. I think they can sense that T-Tigers are waiting in the wind. So there is Breakthrough coming out as well. Damage coming onto Max Green. T-Tigers jumps on towards the backline, but a great stun from Impunity will be able to continue to chase in. Max Green is low. T-Tigers continuing to dive. Max Green jumps all the way in. A lot of damage coming out from Cordovan and Creasy there. The Enzo having to run away. Greasy steps forward with a buckshot. There's the fountain out of Max Green. Tries to lure them back up. Tribe. No fountain of their own, but they do have a Crucible in case the engage comes out from Tribe. Impunity should be okay. The Arcane Passage forward to try and chase Tigers off. That's very brave from Cordovar, because Death Q is all the way back in Sanctuary. Now has joined up with his team once again. They're looking to try and deny some of this business. Dienzio went to the wings. T-Tigers then butt to the face. Ace is high, doesn't connect. Dienzio now onto Creasy. It's up to Cordovar to try and back him away, but the boom shot Bonanza's doing a lot of damage. Dienzio stacking up, will get the kill, and now it's alive of V2. She's going to go down as well. Max Green chasing Death Q away, and that girl really does not have the damage to deal with 3 members of Tribe. They should be able to clean up this Ace at the end. They do. They'll get the Kraken off it as well, and they can push towards the base of Impunity.
Tribe played that absolutely perfectly. When it comes into a 1v1 scenario between the Vox and the Gwen, if Vox is able to stay in range to keep getting those attacks down onto this Gwen, because he has gone so offensive on this Gwen build, doesn't have any armor, it allows Dienzio to build up those breaking point stacks incredibly quickly. And as we saw in the fight previous, the From Hell's card was able to create distance for QC here, and that's what allowed them to get out safely, and in fact even turn the fight around a little bit. But with Kroll down in the jungle, he focused his attention on the T-Tigers, and then from there just wasn't able to actually help out in the fight at all. It was only a matter of time. Dienzio, again, stacking at the breaking point, brings down the Gwen, and they turn their attention straight down. They pick up the Ace, they pick up the Kraken, and with only 2 turrets remaining, they may have just picked up the game.
Exactly, they just need this Kraken to do a couple of turrets. They've only had 5 kills in this game as well, but their control of the jungle is absolutely superb. Usually now trying to take down this Kraken before it's too much work. T-Tiger's got something to say about it, as has mentioned, for that ultimate.